Have you ever wanted to know how to paint glassware and didn't know where to begin? Well, join us now for Painting with Trella, and we hope we'll show you how. Today I've set up a still life, something rather simple, using an empty wine bottle with our green and again the complementary color of a little bit of red, so having our red apple, and some oranges against our soft blue, and we thought we'd toss in a little piece of glassware. So let's go to our easel and begin. I've got my canvas, which is stained with a turpentine wash. And that, of course, gets rid of the white so that I don't have any white to distract me from putting my white highlights in. My palette today is, I'm using white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium orange, cadmium red light, red medium deep, cobalt blue, viridian, phthalo green, phthalo blue, and alizarin crimson. Okay. I'm going to begin my initial sketch in order to place out my composition, and I've used tall and short objects, and I've also given my still life a little bit of room to breathe. I've used a taller object here. Had I removed this wine bottle, see how boring it becomes? And it's missing something. So setting up your composition before you begin painting is most important. This will be your finished painting. Spend time selecting what you will put together. If we take away our apple, we miss a little something. That gives us a little yellow and white over here to offset. If we take the glassware away, this isn't too bad, but that little bit of sparkle of gold gives something extra to the piece. And then also peeling the orange. So let's go to our easel and begin. I'm going to use some cobalt blue and cadmium orange, again, for a very neutral color to sketch this out with. And I prefer using neutral colors because anything you put into this, it will change to that particular color. If we wanted to turn this to our red apple, all we'd have to do is pick up a little red or cadmium orange, and it changes immediately to the red of our apple. So using a neutral is very successful in sketching out your initial still life. So let's go back to our cobalt blue and our cadmium orange. If we use more blue, it's cooler. If we use more orange, it's warmer. But of course we add white and we come up with gray. Again, complementary colors. Okay. Now, we have to select what area we're going to include in our particular still life, and I'm using a 24 by 30 canvas today, a pre-stretched canvas. And again, you can use that little mat to frame it down, or you can use your hand to zero in and squint down just exactly what area you will use for your painting. Okay, and I'm going to start with our taller object, our bottle here. And there's an apple, which is basically just a simple round shape, or half an apple. Okay. You can put a line through the middle of your bottle and put some circles down here. And very simply, this of course will be the center of your bottle. And if you do this, you got your bottle shape right in perspective, just sitting right down here. And don't worry about your extra lines because you're going to paint over these. Again, this is just an initial sketch. We can see our table line. Oh, we can just draw it straight across. And if it goes through, you don't worry. Again, you're going to paint over those things. Okay. Now let's see. Well, there's a little breathing room between the bottle and the oranges, so we can do this by shape relationships. The shape and the distance between the apple, or I'm sorry, the bottle and the orange is almost one orange in the middle. So you can just think in that manner. And let's go here and, oh, we don't worry about the peel, we'll add that later. And our wine glass is just right over here. And it's about, if you look across, it's about to the, if you need some checks, it's about across, a little bit right in here. And we don't worry, we're just, basically, we now have everything just laid in. Now we're going to go in and put in our background. It's important to get the background in immediately because all of the detail will then come with the objects that you want to paint in the foreground area. If you make a mistake, you need to have enough background paint on there to cover it up. And most of you who are beginning painters would not wish to use a brush this large. This is a tremendous amount of paint that goes on the brush. You might use something, in the nature of a boarhair bristle that's either a number 7 or a number 8 in size. This gives you sufficient, but due to the fact we want to do this as much as we can within a short period of time, I'm going to go with a larger brush because you use a lot of paint up when you do this. And I'm going to take an average tone, and notice in my sketch I did not put in where the drapery was. If you feel more comfortable in doing so, okay, off to this apple side, you can go ahead and indicate where your folds come. It'll diminish over here, and over here, and perhaps up there. But we're going to paint right over that. So if you feel more comfortable in doing that, feel free to do so. Again, painting is very exciting. It's a very personal experience. Notice, I'm just going to lay in our color. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some darks in where I see my shadow areas in just a moment. But right now, I want to get rid of all of this canvas area with an average or in between average tone. And since we're going to paint glassware, the best thing you can do with glassware, since it's transparent, is paint the background. Forget the glass is there. So just paint it out. And we'll go back and we'll add darks and highlights to the glass, and that will make the glass happen. You don't have to go back in and paint the background behind it because you've already gotten it in now. And you're using your oil paint in a rather heavier manner because we are working on canvas today. And I'm going to put a healthy portion of paint on here. I'll just put this in here. We'll go back with our darks in a minute. Okay, now a little more cobalt blue and cadmium orange to darken several of our areas. A little bit more. When you're using a big brush, it's a little more difficult to... There we go. And you can squint down and you come up with an average value. And on the side of the bottle. And just swiggle down whatever shape you see. And what's nice is when you have enough paint on there, you just simply take your brush and you blend it. You just let the blending happen by pushing a little more firmly and then lightening up with your brush, because it doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. Okay, and just... Okay, and of course our table line across here. Okay, now I'm going to clean this brush and go back to covering my table area, the foreground area. And sometimes I get a little too aggressive and I spill my turpentine, but just wipe it up. So you have a palette, and we're using a piece of wallboard that's been primed with gesso as our palette. I prefer to use one this large when I'm working in the studio, so I don't have to use the strip palette to constantly keep changing my color. And I'm going to go over here to my tin cans and pick up another one and just shift a little more turpentine in. Keeping clean turpentine makes a difference in the success of your painting. Whether using turpentine or paint thinner, either one will work well. Okay, now we're going to, this may seem like the longest part of doing a painting, but it's really not. It's the most important. Getting your average tones in and getting your foreground area lined up, the rest becomes easy. So, and we'll put our shadows in on our objects in just a second. So we just use this brush. And again, you wouldn't use a brush this large if you're a beginning painter. I do so because it saves on time. Unless you'd like to tune in for 2 hours, we can do that. We can finish one. We're working alla prima today, which is trying to do the painting all at one time. But we're also just showing you simple ways to begin painting. And again, that is with still life. You need to know a command of your color. Because if you're going to paint, it's terribly frustrating when you have all of your paints together. Okay. And you don't know how to mix a certain color. And you have to keep looking to do it. Well, I won't put too much of this here. We'll just... So we've lost most of our original sketch. So this is a layer by layer process of working one over another. We're going to do now is to, let's go in with one of our boar hair bristle brushes, and I prefer the long bristle brushes, simply because they hold more paint and they give you a nice fluid brush stroke. So let's go in with, let's see, we established some of our colors and some of our shadows. Again, we're still in that cobalt blue and cadmium orange, of which you can add any color into it. I think we picked up a little viridian in here. Okay, now for the apple, cobalt blue and red medium deep. Red medium and cobalt blue gives you a color which we call puce. Oh, that sounds terrible, but it's P-U-S-E. And puce is a wonderful shadow color that can be used for most dark objects, all except your white. We can put all of our shadow areas in with puce because whatever you put into puce, it will change to the new color. If you were putting red medium in the puce, it would change to that color. Now, our apple here. Now, if we can use fingers too. If we've gotten that too close, we can shift it over and again, you're squinting down and you're using average or middle of the road color. You can even use this for the bottom of the bottle. We can go in with our oranges the same way. After all you have to do is put a little red light in there, and that is going to change color. And it's better to have it a little darker than too light. If you put too much white or you get your colors too light in the beginning, it's very difficult to get rid of all of the chalky areas. Pick up a little cadmium orange. Let's just and just blend. Let the brush do the blending. You control it with your hand. And notice where I hold my brushes. Most of my brushes I hold at least halfway back, and it gives flexibility to the wrist. And I know you're thinking, gee, that orange isn't as orange as I see up there. Well, that will come. You will brighten it as we go along. You'll add more color. But in the beginning, we're just averaging or massing everything together. And we'll bring this up in color as well. But you have to start somewhere, and we're going with the shapes of what we see. Get our apple in. I know the glass will come, don't worry. Okay. Again, putting those average tones in there. Mm-hmm. Our apple, and the longer your apple sits out there, you know that it will change color. You can always go back and slice another piece off. But just take and let's just give it a half of little yellow light and cadmium orange, cadmium yellow light and cadmium orange. And again, you can, where the areas are a little darker, just go in with a little bit more. Now, as you see this piece of apple, there's a dark behind it, if you notice, part of the background. So you can just put it in and again blend it together. We need a little more shadow on the side of our bottle here, where we just blend it all together. We can always add that little darker area. And we can also lighten it up. And again, just so you don't have such a distinct line, just blend it with the side of your brush. Just scumble it or scrub it around. If you lose your lights, you'll go back in and pull them out again. And I say we can add a bit of light right in here. You can let a lot of the mixing happen right on your surface. That becomes fun in itself. Again, it's a play of light against dark, dark against light. Notice where we're putting our light from the drapery now. We have a dark here and a light behind it. That's what makes the dark appear darker. Okay. Okay. Now, let's pull those oranges up a bit. They look a little seedy, don't they? That's very easy. Again, you put a little paint on here. Don't always go into your white. Put a little light blue. Put a little cobalt blue in with it so you don't pull it up, because if you put a lot of white on there, it becomes chalky and pasty, and you wind up with a very light orange that you may not be happy with. I'm just using a different brush, and I'm just, again, if you make a mistake, you have enough paint right back here to drag it in, clean it up, and change the area. That's the beauty of working with oil paints, because you can constantly change them. Okay, let's go in and use let's see, about number 4. All your brush numbers differ. They all have numbers on the brushes for the size that they are. And we're going to just go in here with a little, and let's see, we just, not quite enough, a little more yellow, cadmium yellow light. To go. And begin pulling the edge of your orange and your peel. Well, a little too heavy, go back, wipe it out, fingers or cloth or palette knife. And I'm just, again, working with very simple shapes. We can lighten up the edge of this peel, and we can worry about it later. And again, some of the darker areas, you may want to stop somewhere along the line. And again, you need to walk back and look at what you're doing. We can establish some darker areas here. And go through here where they're a bit darker than, well, a little bit darker here. And let's see, squint down here a little bit more here. See that dark against the orange does a You see how we're beginning to build this up? You can always go in with a smaller brush later on, and I'm going to show you this now so we can get into our glassware, so we have enough time, and we can pull in just using a little sable. Just to suggest, and we got a little dark area in the center of that orange. If that's too dark, we'll pull it out. Paint it over. There we go. Just to give you an idea. And again, I hope you're finishing this in your own mind with me. That's the fun part of painting, is each person will do something a little different. No two people will finish a painting the same way. And again, if we don't like it, we can always wash it off. And again, go back with the side of your brush. You can bring up warmer tones. Most of the highlights on your fruits and vegetables and so on are not white. They're a light gray. For instance, I can take that light gray and I can blend that around and come back and keep building it up and blending it with the side. Do the same thing with our orange. Okay, and you see, that's basically cobalt blue and white. And it did the same thing, if not more so, than what white would do, which is what we want to save for our glassware. Okay, our bottle, we need to get an average tone in for the bottle very quickly. And I'm saying very quickly because I'm painting this. So, okay, and we can just scumble that in there. If it's not right, add a little more yellow. And cadmium yellow light. And just, again, we're going in with average tones. And we've lost those little circles we did, so we just give it a shape like this and pull up the center. We can, again, smooth it out by going in and pulling up background. We've got enough of this paint around here that we can pull it in and just go down the side of the bottle and just lighten it up a little bit. Pull our apple over the front. And I like to talk to myself sometimes when I paint, and there's nothing wrong with that because I solve a lot of problems. If there are problems, I'll look at something and say, gee, gosh, I could have used a little more orange, or how about if I use a little more red? And you notice I have my bottle turned so I don't see the labels. You don't need to burden yourself with too much in the beginning as you're beginning to paint. The simpler you have it, the more fun it becomes. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the glassware. And just leave that as it is. Again, all that can be blended later on. I'm just going to go ahead and get some shadows here. And wipe this up with a little bit of a clean brush here. Okay, glassware, gosh, it's so simple. Again, basically, we're looking at, okay, where is our stem, which is kind of down here. And again, we can clean all this up later. Okay, I see kind of a little dark area here. And part of the rim. And what color really is gold? see if we can get our shape up here. And around we go. Now we can wipe, again, we can go ahead and give it its shape. And and it begins to become a whole series of just little tones or values and colors. And that's and again, we can blend the shape right into the background. Wipe this out. You can always keep coming back to clean it up. Let's see if we go to another brush. Okay. And a little darker here. As much as this is a series of, again, we can blend this right into the background. Again, it's transparent. If we don't like our shape, we can change it. That's the beauty of doing this. The highlights will become just a series of lighter tones. We just go a little lighter than our background. And we can go like around here. We can blend the sides. And let's see, we have a little cadmium orange and white, and a little yellow light and white for our highlights. But again, it still needs some work. It needs some play as we begin to just build this up. And we go on, and there's so much that we can do, but what we've done, hopefully, is to show you some of the very basic elements that you can use in beginning your own still life painting. And I hope you'll join us again. Perhaps we'll get to more glassware and surely some silverware. So thank you for joining us for Painting with Trella.